Hello everyone. Today we will see the summary of the movie Five Nights at Freddy's. Are you ready to discover the secrets of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? Without further ado, let's get started. The film begins with a security guard who mysteriously flees through the ventilation ducts, because something is chasing him. Although it is of no use because he is captured and tied to a chair, where an animatronic ends his life without him being able to free himself. There on the wall we see a couple of drawings that will be very important for the plot later. Now we meet Mike, a man who leads a somewhat difficult life, who is responsible for his sister Abby. Mike works security at a shopping center when he sees a man forcibly take a child. This causes him to go after him, thinking that it is a kidnapping. Upon finding him, he lunges towards him and ends up hitting him. This was a mistake because he was actually the father of the child. Mike is fired and now has to get a new job, going to the talent office run by Steve Raglan. He knows his entire job history, where he has failed at each one. And because of that, he has a single vacancy to take care of a place called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a former entertainment venue that closed in the 80s, due to the disappearance of 5 children, and since then the security guards who have worked there have not lasted a long time. And it's clear, Raglan doesn't mention it, because it's just a low-paying job that happens at night. Mike does not accept the proposal and goes home. Now we meet Max, Abby's babysitter, who tells Mike that the girl didn't want dinner because she was drawing her imaginary friends. Mike takes his sleeping pills, because the stress caused by his traumas is too much. Remembering the precise moment of his childhood with his family, when he was tasked with taking care of his little brother Garrett, who unfortunately was a victim of kidnapping, by a man that Mike cannot remember. Mike has financial problems and most delicately, he is fighting for custody of his sister, since when his younger brother disappeared, his mother could not handle it and later died. Soon after, Mike and Abby's father abandoned them. So her Aunt Jane plans to stay with Abby, so that the government will give her a monthly check for Abby's support. The lawyer, who is handling the custody case, believes that Mike is a good person, and advises him to get a job so that she can prove to the judge that she can support Abby. This causes Mike to call Raglan, to tell him that he accepts the night job at Freddy's, and that is when Raglan tells him about the events that led to Freddy's closing, but the owner of the place is somewhat melancholic and refuses to demolish the place. Raglan guides Mike by phone to Freddy's, where he instructs him on his task, which is to prevent anyone from entering the place, and he only has to take care of the security monitors and keep the place clean. There he starts to watch a presentation video for the security guards, thus he learns that in the 80s, Freddy's was a family place with video games and pizza, but the main attraction were the animatronics in charge of interacting with people, although due to the age of the tapes, they begin to fail in a very gloomy way. Mike falls asleep, and sees 5 children whom he tries to ask for help in finding the kidnapper, but the children run, and Mike, chasing them, trips and wakes up from the dream. This is how he ends his day at Freddy's. Later we see Jane, who is Mike's aunt, planning a way to take custody of Abby. There we realize that Max actually works for her. He tells her that he is now working as a security guard at an abandoned site, so Max's brother has a plan, which is to break into the site and cause havoc so he can get fired. In order for Jane to stay with his niece, and thus collect the check from the state. At night, Abby asks him to go with him, although this is not possible, and Max will take care of her again that night. At work, Mike falls asleep. In his dream he returns to the same place where Garrett was abducted, and the children appear again. This time, he tries to follow one of them, but ends up wounded in the arm. Soon after, an officer named Vanessa rings the doorbell. Seeing Mike's injured arm, she comes in to fix him up and tell him that Freddy's was her favorite place when she was a kid, shows him the animatronics, and she mentions that the place closed because some kids disappeared and were never found. Thus, Mike ends the second night, saying goodbye to Vanessa, but being watched from afar by Max's brother, who calls his gang to destroy the place in Mike's absence. Later, when the gang arrives, this guy hears noises in the kitchen, opens the fridge and finds Chica's cupcake. The guy hears noises from behind, turns around, and when he looks back, the cupcake is gone. Well, it turns out that Chica has it staring at him. And then his friend hears the noises and goes to investigate. He sees how Cupcake is eating his entire face. Now Chica has her eyes on him. He runs away and hides in a dark place. As he looks for a way to turn on the light, Bonnie appears from behind him, making him suffer to death. Bonnie comes out of the room, running into Max's brother, so he, seeing Bonnie, rushes out. He tries to call the police, but can't, and on the camera he sees how the animatronics are staring at him. So Chica places his cupcake in a ventilation duct, to which he defends the grill so that it does not manage to enter. He sees the doors open, so he decides to escape, but suddenly it closes, and in front of him Foxy appears, who quickly kills him. On the other hand, Max sees a ghost boy and goes in search of him, who takes him to what seems to be a room completely full of animatronic parts. Suddenly, the boy turns into Freddy. She believes the boy is trapped inside him, so she gets curious, puts her hand in his mouth, and he eats half of her body. Later, Vanessa informs Mike that a couple of people trashed the place, and shows him her sleeping pills, insinuating that he didn't close Freddy's properly and needs her version, because otherwise he'll get fired. Mike tells her about his past, his brother Garrett, his mother and father, and the situation he's going through, and how he's trying to find out who took his brother, reason for those pills, and Vanessa will change her report so he doesn't lose his job. At night, Mike tries to contact Max, but she doesn't respond, so he has no choice but to take his sister with him. When Mike arrives at work, he begins to clean up all the mess they left behind. While sleeping, Mike asks a boy to tell him who took his brother, telling him that he will give him whatever he wants. From one moment to the next, the boy disappears, leaving a drawing of a rabbit on the floor. Mike wakes up and realizes that his sister is gone, and runs to hear some screams. There he discovers that the animatronics have life, but do not want to hurt them. Abby takes the opportunity to introduce him to everyone, Bonnie, Foxy, Chica and Freddy, but this is too much for him and he decides to go home. In the morning, Mike discovers some drawings of Abby with the children of her dreams, and Garrett's kidnapping. Things she didn't fully know, but that the children told him, so he asks him to ask them, who was the person who kidnapped his brother. At night Mike knows that Vanessa knew everything, and she confesses to him that yes, the spirits of the children possess the animatronics, thus giving them life, and this is because their physical bodies are inside them, reason why they never found them. There they all have a few minutes of fun. Vanessa goes to get a couple of towels and Mike sees a different animatronic, which is open. She tells him that those were designed to have a person inside, but since they were very unstable, they are very dangerous to use. When they return, they see Abby, who was playing with the animatronics, but accidentally suffers an electric shock, which does not kill her, but leaves her badly injured. So Mike has to take her home, and Vanessa asks him not to bring her back. In the morning, Abby finds out that her brother has already made the decision to give custody to her aunt, and she, very upset, scratches all her drawings where she was with her brother. Mike returns to Freddy's to take a nap, in which he sees his entire family happy. At that moment one of the children tells him that he will have all of that, but in exchange he has to give him Abby. He initially agrees, but backs out after remembering Abby, and when he wakes up he is already tied to the same chair in which the first security guard died. Mike does everything he can to free himself. And in the end, he succeeds, but remains badly injured. He quickly escapes, going to Vanessa to heal him, and Mike tells her what he just did. And she tells him that her sister is in danger and they will go after her. So he gives her a taser, since with that he will be able to stop them temporarily, but she will not accompany him because he tells her that it will not be useful to her. While this is happening, an animatronic has already arrived at her aunt's house to kill her. In order to take Abby, with the promise that they would have a great time at Freddy's. Chica takes Abby with the goal of transforming her into the animatronic that Mike had seen. She starts screaming. Fortunately her brother had already infiltrated with Vanessa's instructions, managing to immobilize Chica to rescue her sister. While Chica is motionless, they escape. But a small animatronic watches them. As they flee, the animatronic attacks Mike from behind. He tries to escape, but sees the taser. He immediately grabs it. And he ends up immobilizing the animatronic. On the other hand, we see Abby hiding. Foxy is looking for her, but when she was about to catch her, Vanessa arrives to stop him. She pinned Foxy down, before she caught Abby. At that moment, the yellow rabbit arrives, reactivating all the animatronics, as well as revealing himself to be the kidnapper of all the children, including Mike's brother. Vanessa tries to stop him by pointing her gun at him. And there it is revealed that the yellow rabbit is her father. He tries to talk her out of it, but she shoots him in the arm. He immediately attacks her and stabs her knife into her abdomen. Abby has an idea to make the other children see that he was to blame for everything that happened to them. She replacing the drawing of the yellow rabbit with the happy children with another one, where she is hurting them, thus causing all the animatronics to attack him, and since he was in one of those animatronics, where a human could get in, it begins to fail, injuring him more and more. Reagan before dying, says his mythical phrase,
"I always come back."
Days later, Abby had improved a lot and now she is much more sociable than she was before. Vanessa is recovering and the children are holding Raglan prisoner. In the post-credits scene we see the taxi driver who took Abby to Freddy's, when suddenly Balloon Boy appears. And so ends Five Nights at Freddy's. Without further ado, make sure you are subscribed to continue receiving summaries of new release movies. Without further ado, that was all from me.